9 to 5 is as interesting as Jay Hinkins' 9 to 5, so we won't talk too much about that in the accounting world. I just had to tie Jay into it somehow. But I have come to learn that Dan knows quite a few people in this room. So very interesting conversations of, my bucket list is to be in the main event of the World Series of Poker. He's done it 4 times already. And we'll share some stories about that and just kind of the whole scope of the poker world and World Series. So Dan McGown.
No, I didn't bring my sunglasses. Second person who's asked, but just for Jay, I have my readers because now I need readers to see my cards because I can't see them this close anymore. So no more sunglasses.
You can see if you're.
Anyway, I would like to donate all the cash in my wallet to Rotary for a sad day. My mother-in-law passed away this morning. So we got the call about 3 o'clock this morning and she passed it. So anyway, I'm Dan McGown. I'm a CPA. I'm one of the owners at Yahara CPA on the west side of Madison. We're in downtown Middleton. My partner and I have been there for the last 3 years. My business partner and I, we've been together since 2008. So we've been working together for, I think, 14, 15 years now. It's fantastic. So if you could go to the next slide, please. All right. This is just my opinion, but is No Limit Texas Hold'em the best game of poker ever created? And I would say it is. And simply because I like to think of it as the greatest example of American capitalism that there is in the world. If you're playing in a tournament, everybody puts the same amount of money in the middle of the pot to get in, and one person walks away with all the money. So, maybe not exactly, but pretty close to the truth. Everybody plays, so one person has all the chips. So to me, it's one of the best games. Just a quick overview. I don't know how many of you seen Texas Hold'em or poker on TV. Texas Hold'em is everybody gets 2 cards face down. You have 1 round of betting. After the first round of betting is completed, they throw 3 cards face up. It's called the flop. After the flop comes up, we have another round of betting. After the flop comes the turn, another round of betting. And the last card, the 5th card face up, is called the river. Once again, you have another round of betting. And at that point, you can take the 2 cards in your hand plus the 5 cards on the board that are face up in the middle. And you make the best 5-card hand out of the 7 cards. So it is possible, and there are times where the 5 cards in the middle are the best cards in, and people split the pot. That happens every once in a while. But usually there is a winner. Good. So just a quick start, what makes a poker player? For me, I used to play golf professionally, played golf professionally for 5 years out of college. And I was trying to play blackjack in 1999 in a casino in Indio, California, out by where Rob Goose is right now, I'm assuming. And if you wanted to play $5 blackjack, you had to have a $1 side bet to play on their table. So it cost you $6. So I wasn't happy that the house was basically taking 20% of my money before I played the hand. So I was like, I'm not playing blackjack here. But I had driven out there about 25 minutes. And there's a bunch of people sitting down around a table playing some game. So I said, hey, what are you guys doing? Hey, we're playing Limit Texas Hold'em. And so that's actually how I learned how to play Texas Hold'em, was I went to a casino and tried to play blackjack. So, what makes a good poker player? You have to be good at math. Game of poker is constantly about odds, percentages. If I have 4 cards and I need the 5th card to make my flush or a straight, which is a pretty powerful hand in poker, I need to know what my percent chance is that I'm going to get that card. So you have to have the mathematical ability to make those kind of calculations on the fly. The other one is, you got to be good at risk analysis. So, you know, if there's $1,000 in the middle of a pot and it costs me $100 to continue on the hand, you know, we call that 10 to 1 odds. I have to put $1 up to win 10. I have to put 100 in to win 1,000. So I better know what my hand is and what it's worth. And is that 10 to 1 risk worth it? If I only have a, 1 in 52 chance, I need 1 card in the deck to hit my hand and win. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to put in money at 10 to 1 if I know I have 52 to 1 chance of winning the hand. So, and the other thing that helps in some types of poker is being a good card counter. I learned how to play hearts and bridge as a kid growing up, sheep's head. My dad's family is from Stevens Point, so you had to learn how to play sheep's head by the time you were about 5, or you didn't play cards with your family. So I could count cards. If you play stud, draw poker, a lot of poker, couple variations, there's actually cards that are face up in people's hands. So they have like 2 cards down and then 3 cards up in front of them. And, if somebody folds and it's out of the hand, if you can remember that, maybe they had the 5 of hearts and the 5 of hearts is one of the clubs or one of the cards you need to potentially make your hand. You have to start subtracting and being like, okay, the 5 of hearts is gone. The 3 of hearts are gone. Okay. So now there's only 6 hearts that will get me a flush instead of 8. So, those are the kind of things that if you're a good card counter with types of poker where cards are face up, it's very important. Next slide, please. All right, the poker explosion. We talked a little bit about this at lunch. The world of poker was really just a bunch of guys. You hear about like Amarillo Slim and Brunson, these guys that would drive in their car in Texas from town to town, and they'd have these backroom poker games. And finally, I think it was 1969 or 1970, Jack Binion decided he wanted to host the best poker players in the world. And so, of course, he called it the World Series of Poker because he was trying to be the ever, the advertiser marketing guy so that people would come to his casino and play, spend money with him. So this went on for 40 plus years. Poker was just poker. It was kind of a, off thing. Then all of a sudden, in 2003, Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker. He's an accountant. He's not a professional poker player. Okay. The other thing that helped, ESPN started to broadcast poker. At the time, they would show it at like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. You couldn't find it unless you really wanted to find it. But all of a sudden, a non-poker pro wins the World Series of Poker. The next year, 2004, Greg Raymer wins the World Series of Poker. Now, he wasn't a professional poker player either. He's an attorney. So you have 2 years back-to-back, non-poker pros winning the World Series of Poker. The second year after Chris Moneymaker won, Greg Raymer, ESPN was showing this like from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock on a Thursday. For about 10 weeks in a row, they just do 2 hours of highlights. All of a sudden, there's an explosion. All of a sudden, it becomes popular. It's cool. It's on ESPN. Anybody can win, right? The accountant won. The lawyer won. We see the explosion at that point of online poker. Now 4 main online poker sites. You can play poker 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Actually, if you go back, I got it. Oh, no problem. And then in 2005, the World Series of Poker becomes so big that, oh no, I'm blaming that MGM, the other guys on the strip, buy Binion's. So the World Series of Poker moves from Binion's and it goes over to the Rio. Okay. So it becomes such a big property. It's Caesars, that's who it is. Caesars bought Binion's just so that they could get the rights to the World Series of Poker. Then they move it over to the Rio Casino, just so that they could have a bigger venue because right now it's exploding. In 2005, I believe, maybe it was 2006, they had over 8,000 players in the main events, paying $10,000 to enter the event. So if you go 8,000 times 10, you know, that's like 800 million, 80 million, a lot of money. So they're playing for a lot of money. Okay, now we'll go. So in 2006, poker is booming. I'm playing online a ton. You know, I qualified, I played in the main event 4 times, 3 times I qualified online, where I took, you know, $16 of my own, put 16 bucks in, won a 216 person tournament. So I won like $1,012. I put that $1,012 in the next tournament with like 4,000 or 400 other people. So we were playing for 40 spots. I won that. So I, you know, won my seat into the World Series poker main event. 3 out of the 4 years got staked another time, and had won enough the 4th year that I could easily pay for the $10,000 entry fee. 2006, Congress passes the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act. April 15th, it was tax day. Remember it like yesterday. It was the end of internet gambling. All poker sites shut down. I shouldn't say that. You could play in Europe, you could play in Mexico. I have a client of mine who's a professional poker player. He moved to Tijuana so he could keep playing internet poker. So me being a licensed professional as a CPA, I didn't think it was in my best interest to spoof my ID or whatever they call it and ping my internet from here to there so that I could play in Madison, Wisconsin. Because if somehow I was caught and somehow it traced back to my house, I could lose my license. It's not worth it to me. My living is worth more than playing online poker. So I stopped playing online poker. I haven't played online poker since 2006 for cash. All right. Okay. So now to the 2012 World Series of Poker. As the name states, the World Series of Poker is a series. Okay, there's actually 81 events played over 51 days. So there's tournaments that have buy-in. I think the lowest buy-in this year was $600. Maybe it was 400. They have a bunch. I think the highest buy-in this year may have been $1 million. And I know there are a bunch of $100,000 buy-in events this year. Those are the ones that people like Daniel Negreanu, Phil Hellmuth, a lot of the big name guys who really have the money playing. Those are more the prestige, just to say, hey, I won it. Yeah. All in person. So these are all in Las Vegas. The main event is a $10,000 buy-in. That's considered, I guess you'd call it the gold standard. That's the one everybody wants to win. I went there, I played in the seniors event this year. I'm over 50 now, so I can play with the seniors. And I also played, I think, in Colossus. Played in 2 events, 2 of the events this summer. So how long does an event last? So I'm just going to say what happened in the seniors event this year, okay? It's scheduled for 5 days. It takes 5 days to play enough poker to have everybody get knocked out so that there's only one person with all the chips. In the seniors event, it was only $1,000 buy-in, 7,188 people entered. So that's $7.18 million is your prize pool. Not exactly, the casino takes their cut. Take the prize pool with something like 6.8 million. 1,079 players got paid. So 15% of the people who played got their money. Last place paid. So the first person that got paid out got $1,600. We made $600 after playing poker for 2.5 years. First place for the event paid $694,000. So the guy who won it walked away with just about $700,000 in the senior event. I think the main event first place was 10 million this year. So an average day for the seniors, which they kind of clip a little short because the seniors have to go to the bathroom, they get longer bathroom breaks. They start at 10 a.m. in the morning so that we're done a little earlier. Starts at 10 a.m. They play 11 1-hour levels of poker. So you play, and then you get a 20-minute break every 2 levels. So you play 2 hours straight of cards, get a 20-minute break, go to the bathroom, whatever you want to do. Come back to the table, you play for another 2 hours. After 8 levels, about 7 p.m., you get an hour and 15 minutes for dinner. Come back, keep playing. You know, you usually start at 10 a.m. in the morning. You're usually finishing up, bagging up about 10:30 at night, about 12 hours or so. Right now, this last year, Caesars Incorporated or Entertainment, whatever they're called, actually moved where the World Series of Poker was played. It used to be played at the Rio. If any of you know Las Vegas, the Rio is off the strip. It's kind of by the strip, but it's on the other side of the interstate. So this year they moved it across the strip and they split it between Bally's and Paris, right on the strip, which is fantastic. Now you can stay on the strip and just walk to the casino. You know, you're there in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 15 minutes versus the Rio. Caesars got rid of the shuttle that used to run between Bally's and Rio. So you either had to cab over or you had to walk, and it was about a 20-minute walk and you know, 100-degree heat in Las Vegas in June and July. So the combined space, look this up, 200,000 square feet is what they have for the event. They have 600 poker tables, 10 people playing at a table if you want. So they can have 6,000 people playing poker at any time in the event space. For the senior event, everybody started with 20,000 chips. So you paid your $1,000, they gave you 20,000 in chips. And the blinds, those are forced bets. You know, if nobody put money in and everybody had bad hands, everybody would just throw their hands away and you'd just sit there doing nothing until somebody got good cards. We have something called blinds, which are basically forced bets. So you have to start with money. 2 of the people in the 10 around the table are starting with money in the pot. So there's money to be won on every hand. When they start, it starts at $100, $100, $100. So that means for every 10 hands you play, or every time, you know, the deal goes around the table, it costs you 300 of your 20,000 chips. So that's 1.5% of your chips. So you lose 1.5% of your chips every time the deal goes around if you do nothing. Obviously, if you bet and lose, your chips go down a lot quicker. If you bet and win, your chips go up. At the end of the first day, after 11 hours or 10 hours, starting the 11th hour, the blinds go to 1,000, 2,000, 2,000. That means there's 5,000 chips in the middle of the pot before any of the cards are dealt. And if you didn't win a single chip for the last 10 hours, 25%, it takes 25% of your chips to play 10 hands. So the blinds going up and up and up force the players to play. You can't sit there and wait till you get aces or king, you know, 2 aces, 2 kings, really, really good hands. You can't just sit there and wait all day because the blinds will eventually eat you up. And they'll get going so fast that you just can't sit there and wait for good cards.
Is that new?
No, no, it always has been.
Okay.
The big blind ante is new. So what used to happen is after about 4 hours, they'd start collecting a $100 ante from all the players. Well, everybody throws in 100. And the dealer's trying to watch who's putting the $100 in. And there's always one guy at the table who throws his chips in the air, you know, and then it bounces and goes there. And the dealer's trying to collect the $10, $100 chips. Finally, I think it was 2 years ago, they've been testing this on the circuits, the World Series of Poker circuits. But they went to this big blind ante. So instead of everybody paying $100 or whatever it is, the big blind, the guy who's making this $2,000 bet here, forced bet, he has to pay the $2,000, which are the blinds for everyone on the table. It speeds up the pace of play tremendous. The dealer isn't making, the problem becomes once you get higher up, you have some people with huge chip stacks, some people with little chip stacks, and the dealer's trying to make change for everybody. So it can take, 2-3 minutes just to make change to get the blinds out. So they've changed this big blind ante. It saves a ton of time. You can get a ton of more hands in per hour. It's fantastic. All right, if you can. All right. No, it's a milkshake. So anyway, I say there's always time to eat when you're out there. So that's a milkshake I got at one of the places. And then next one, the new thing in 2022 in Las Vegas was that they now have cake vending machines in Las Vegas. So you can go, 2 o'clock in the morning and you're hungry and you can get a slice of cake. So I thought that was pretty cool for this year. So at this point, I'll open it up for questions for anybody who wants to talk about something specific. Yeah.
Is the only game they play Texas Hold'em?
No, so the World Series of Poker, as the name says that it's a series, they play no limit hold'em, they play limit hold'em, where you can't bet more than a certain amount. They pay pot limit hold'em, they play Omaha, they pay pot limit Omaha, they play stud, they play Badusi, Badesi. There's about probably 11 or 12 different kinds of poker they'll play. There's an event called Horse, which is actually a combination of 5 different pokers. So they play an hour or 30 minutes of each. So you start playing Hold'em, then you play Omaha, then you play Raz. Raz is you try to get the worst hand you can get. So 1 through ace through 6 is going to be your winning hand. If you're playing Raz, you're trying to get crappy hands. I'm really good at Raz because I get crappy hands. Then you play stud, and then you play stud 8s or better. So there's all sorts of different types and variations of poker. You think of it, people will bet on it. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting about the seniors being 50 and up. So when you look at the best poker players, are the seniors deteriorating in their skill level? Are the best players the younger players, or not necessarily?
That's a really good question. And I would say, I don't think that skills necessarily deteriorate as you get older. I think what has happened in poker is poker really is evolving. The game has evolved. When I first started playing, you waited till you had a pair, or you had like ace king or ace queen or ace jack before you started thinking about wanting to put money in the pot. Today, if you watch the guys on, it's like, hey, I have 4-2. Yeah, that's $10,000. I'm going to throw 10,000 into the middle with 4-2 because, the chance of me winning on that against any hand is, about 20%. But if I'm aggressive and the other person can't see my cards and they think I have a really good hand, they're probably going to throw their hands away that are better than mine. Yeah, basically a bluff. But I think that the game just keeps evolving. They've now gone to this, trying to think of the exact, but it's basically, they now have put all these databases in computers, and the computers have come out with the exact amounts you should bet. I mean, so that's now the new thing in poker, and it's caused a bunch of controversy because there have been some guys who've won tournaments, and then it's found that they have a second computer running, that they're running all the computations over here, making their bets over here. It's causing lots of problems. So there's been people that have been banned from poker sites now. I think there's 3 states now that you can legally play poker online. I think it's New York, California, and Nevada. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's what it is. So there is a little bit of online poker right now. Yeah.
Given that you are a CPA, what amount do you have to declare your winnings or your losses, and can you deduct whatever it is you put into the secondary source of income?
So I have to report every single penny that I earn, and I report every single penny that I earn playing poker. When you earn, you can offset it with your expenses. So I keep all my flights, my entry fees, my meals. I have all that stuff written down. If I don't have a profit for the year, if my expenses are more than my income, that's called a hobby loss if it's not your profession. So on those years, I click the box, hey, this is a hobby loss, goes to zero. Money out of my pocket. I don't get to take a loss. Like if I, in my business, if my business had a loss, I could take that to offset my other income. I can't do that with a hobby loss. So years I do well, paying income tax. The years I don't do well, I get zero. So. Answer.
So the senior. Now, poker player.
Yeah.
So when people are running, they simply run out of chips.
Yep.
No.
So when you're out of chips, you're done. You're out of the tournament.
And the other question you mentioned, tell me, we got Wisconsin.
Yeah. So we were talking at this at lunch. There's a lot of people. Helmuth, probably the most famous person from Wisconsin, maybe one of the most famous poker players ever. He's won the most World Series of poker bracelets of all time. Once again, don't quote me. He was at 14. He may be at 15 or 16 now that he's won. I think he only won the main event the one time, but he's won 15 of the other events. When you win, you get a gold bracelet.
How old is he?
No, he plays poker. He's like 58, 59. I think he's like 6 years older than me. But then we also have Eric Baldwin, a friend of mine. He's from Beaver Dam. He's won 2 World Series of poker bracelets. Adam was looking it up. He's earned over $7 million in live poker. Eric has, he went to Whitewater. Let's think who else we have. Tony Dunst. I don't know if you guys know who Tony Dunst is. He does the commentary for the World Poker Tour, WPT. He's a Madison native. And then there's Eddie Blumenthal. He's also from Madison. He's got a record of having the largest chip lead ever in a World Series poker event with 2 people left, and he lost. So he's taken twice, I think, in a couple events, 3rd in another and 4th in another. There's a bunch of really good card players in the Madison area. Yeah, Kevin.
So when you're talking about the main event, you were saying in 2006, Moneymaker kind of set the stage for you don't have to be a professional poker player. Do you have a sense now of what the breakdown would be of professional poker players versus not?
I would actually guess that there are a lot more professional poker players now than there were before, simply because the ease of playing games. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you're playing in somebody's back room, you're playing at a bar, or you're going to Las Vegas playing at Binion's. Now, at least before COVID, you could play at Ho-Chunk up at the Dells, you could play at Potawatomi, Milwaukee, you can find a cash game in Madison any night of the week. You still probably can. I have a bunch of friends, we get together once a month and play. So the ability to play and then the online for people that play online, the quote was something like it takes you 10,000 or something to become, to have something become ingrained. Well, now with online poker, if you can log in and play like 3 different tournaments at the same time, like you can see maybe close to 200 hands in an hour. So in a day you see 2,000 hands. So in a week you play 10,000 hands of poker. If you're playing 3 tournaments at a time, 3. So it's pretty quick to get reputations and learn how to play quickly.
Like having 5 bingo cards.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Jackie. No. My wife will not let me.
We have a question online. Hobby loss is a tax benefit category. Is this true of other hobbies?
No, hobby loss is one you never want. Yeah, pull tab. No, the hobby loss is one you never want the IRS to come after you for. There's some famous cases with horse farms where the guy's losing, he's got like $1 million loss on his horse farm 7 years in a row. Then the IRS comes and says, you're not running a business. You're trying to create losses to offset your other income. The guy was a professional football player. So he was trying to, find losses. So he had this horse farm that lost $1 million every year for 7-8 years. And finally, the IRS came in and says, you're not running a business. This is a hobby. Sorry, we're getting rid of all your losses. So, if you're a quilter or something like that, and you sell a couple quilts, if you have more expenses than losses, you really can't put a loss on your tax return. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I would think that there's a huge rush in being able to do this and do it successfully. And there's a big payout. So it's a financial reward. And I'm just imagining that this fosters a lot of addictive behaviors. And I'm wondering if there's any professional addiction counseling.
Oh, yeah.
Through the poker industry, or is that all just?
Of course, sir. Hey, go to the Caesars website. There's going to be a link. Do you have problem gambling, right? But when you go in and you're drinking and you're gambling, are they ever going to come to you and say, please stop? The answer is no, right? So, yeah, all the sites, all the places, everywhere you go, they're going to have, problem gambling. If you look at the Potawatomi commercials you see on during the Brewer games or stuff, if you read the little print on the bottom, if you have problems gambling, please call the gambling hotline. But yeah, but I've never once seen any casino ever pull a player off the floor that should be pulled off the floor and say you shouldn't be gambling. So
Do you have plans for 23?
I do plan on going back. 2022 wasn't a great year. Didn't win anything. I did something that I had never done before. I did something, it's called, I was the bubble boy. So basically the bubble person or the bubble boy is the last person who doesn't get paid. So if I made it one more person, I would have gotten the $1,600 check. I didn't, I was the one who bubbled out. So my check was $0, although I played for 2+ days. So, exactly. Well, at least he's in the NFL. So it's not even that. But no, I bubbled, which means I was the last person who didn't get paid, which really stinks.
When did you start playing poker?
So,
Not professional. When did you start college or high school?
no, so I mean, our neighbors across the street had poker table in their basement, right? So when we had sleepovers at our neighbor's house, we played, 1 penny, 2 penny draw poker, right? Nothing really important because at playing, 1 penny, 2 penny, you're not going to fold your cards for any reason, right? It's only cost me 2 more cents to see the next card. I don't care. You lose $1. That's why I like no limit hold'em. If you have a really good hand and there's 4 other people in the hand, I can just jam $50,000 in chips in the middle or 50,000 chips in the middle. If you want to wait for that next card, it's not costing you 2 pennies, it's costing you 50,000 chips. So that's why I like no limit hold'em. You're allowed to, it lets you protect your good hands against people who just, would like to pay $100 to see the next card or 100 chips. I can make it 20,000 for them to see the next card and make it not worth their while.
So you moved from the bubble guy to the ultimate bluffer guy.